Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to see whether or not it's still worth buying a Blue Yeti USB condenser microphone in 2019/2020. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Shane. Today we're checking out this Blue Yeti microphone. This is one of the industry standards in terms of USB microphones, and thousands of people on YouTube use these, and it's for a good reason. They're actually really good. There are a few limitations about them and things I don't like, but we'll get into that in the video. The first part of this video, I'll just go over some of the things about this microphone that makes it unique. We'll cover some of the specifications as well, and then we'll do a full audio test. And at the end of the video, I'll give you some of the pros and cons about this particular microphone and whether or not it's still really great value in 2019/moving into 2020. So firstly, let's take a look at the exterior of this actual microphone. This is the front panel here. We talk into this section instead of actually into here. Now, depending on what kind of polar pattern you use, you can actually be positioned almost anywhere around this microphone, but we'll get into that in just a moment as well. One of the greatest things about this microphone is the fact you have real-time audio monitoring, and you might be thinking, what does that even mean? So you can actually plug headphones into the back or the underside of the Blue Yeti microphone, and you can actually listen to what you're saying before it actually hits your computer. And the great thing about that is if you've got a microphone that's a USB mic going into your computer and you plug headphones into the computer, there's something called latency, which makes it really hard to talk, because you'll talk and just that brief couple of milliseconds later, maybe 200 milliseconds or less later, you're going to hear it come back. And as you continually talk, you're continually hearing yourself a little bit slower or a little bit later. It gets really, really confusing when you're trying to do something like a podcast. So they got this right. Real-time audio monitoring thanks to the headphone jack. This thing's an absolute lifesaver. On the front as well, we also have a volume control so we can turn up our headphones. We also have a mute switch which mutes the input to the microphone. So if you're about to sneeze or something, you're doing a live stream, hit mute, sneeze, unmute, and you're back. One of the great things about the mute switch as well is it doesn't go bang or pop or anything when you click it in. It's nice and silent. Another great piece of engineering there also. If we take a look at the back of the microphone, as you can see, we get two extra options at the back. This first one is the gain control. So depending how loud your vocal or voice is or whatever your recording is, you can adjust the gain accordingly so the microphone doesn't clip or create any distortion going into the computer. Another really cool thing about this microphone is on the back, there's also 4 different polar patterns you can choose from. I'll explain these in just a moment, but in terms of how this is built and in terms of the switch itself, changing them is really quite tough. You've really got to push hard to change the polar patterns on this microphone. And this is great. It means you're not going to accidentally knock it to the next one. Even if you were to throw this in the bag and you had it set to cardioid, for example, I'll explain what that is in a moment. You could grab it after a flight overseas. It's still going to be in that position. There's no way it can be accidentally knocked. I think that's a really cool thing as well. On the underside of the microphone, as you can see, we also have a USB connection here, and the microphone is self-powered from the USB slot on any computer, so that's also awesome. We also get a threading that we can attach it to an external or a third-party microphone stand as well. Blue Microphones really nailed it when it came to the design of the stand as well. You can tighten it just by simply turning these in 2 different directions, and that will stop the microphone from tilting backwards or forwards accidentally. And if you want to tilt it, you just simply loosen these and you can then move it forwards or backwards as well. Now you can actually take the microphone off this stand. The stand comes with it. But if you want a third-party stand, and say you're a lot taller than me, I'm about 5'8", and I still have to crouch down to use this, might put pressure on your shoulders or neck. Especially for taller people as well, they might have to really they might want it up at about this height. You'll need a third-party stand. So I'll leave some links to B&H for the microphone, as well as a third-party stand that will definitely do the job for these. It's ones that I've tested and I've shown in other videos as well. All right, you probably noticed right about now the audio has changed. Does it sound better than my Rode lavalier microphone? I guess we'll find out in the comments. Let me know what you think. You can also vote up in the cards whether or not this is a better sounding microphone than my actual wireless pack that I'm using for my camera. So I've got it set to cardioid mode, which is the second mode from the right-hand side. And this is ideal for any sound source just coming from one direction. So you can put it in front of instruments, guitar amplifiers, for example. You can also use it for talking and any speech-related stuff like vocals if you're singing or you want to record your voice or anything like that. Set it to cardioid, you'll get the best results without lots of unwanted sounds getting in from behind the microphone or from the sides also. There's also another really functional mode on this microphone called stereo mode. This will pick up sound from the sides, but it kind of rejects sound from the front and the back as well. This is ideal if you want a really nice spread on an acoustic guitar, for example. You can pick up, say, you can sort of place it in the center of, say, the actual sound hole and somewhere in between the fretboard and get a really balanced sound between the chord hand and also the strumming hand. I'm a left-handed guitar player, by the way. Most people won't be. Oh, right-handed is weird. But yeah, you see, I'm a lefty. It's great for acoustic guitars. You could also find other uses for it, maybe even also on drums. One of the coolest modes on the Blue Yeti is the omnidirectional mode on the back. It's the little circle. It's the second from the left. Now, in this mode, it will pick up sound evenly from all around the microphone. And what this means is, say you're in a live show and there's people playing music, you could plunk the microphone down and you could get a really great sense of what's going on in the room. You could hear the people on one side, you could hear the band on the other side. It would definitely be a great mode for that type of thing. But if you wanted to, say, get rid of the people in the crowd noise, for example, you could put it back to cardioid mode and just face it forward and get more of the audio just from one source from the front. Or stereo mode, you could try that as well. It would probably still pick up, though, some of the crowd. Bidirectional mode is another great mode, also known as the figure 8 polar pattern. This will allow sound to come from both the front and the back, and this would be ideal if I've got someone on the other side of the desk, for example, and they're talking. I could put the microphone in the center of the table and it would pick up both of us very evenly. So that's a really great mode while sort of rejecting sound from the side. It's a really handy tip if you're going to be using this microphone with a two-person interview, for example. Put it to the figure 8 polar pattern or the bidirectional mode, and you should get the best results that way. I'm up nice and close to the microphone now, testing out the proximity effect. So for those who don't know what that means, the closer you get to any quality microphone, you should notice a bass enhancement. This is more prevalent on usually broadcast quality dynamic microphones, but also on the majority of condenser mics. You get up close to them, it should sound warm and full. And as you pull back, you can raise your voice a little bit, but it will lose the body. I want to show you if it sounds any different actually getting up close like this as well. So I'm going to read out some of the specs for you as well. If you're interested, I'll also try and put some of these on screen. And this particular test is exactly one of the problems I have with this mic. Look at my posture. There's no way to get close to it without having to hunch over like this, at least on my desk, without grabbing something to put the microphone on or getting a better stand. But yeah, this is how it sounds up close. I'll sit back a bit because it's more comfortable, crank the gain up a little more, and I'll read you the specs. So to power the Blue Yeti microphone, all you do, you plug it into a USB slot. It takes its 5 volts from the USB slot and it only draws 150 milliamps, which isn't a lot at all. So it's not going to drastically change the battery life on your computer if you're using it with your laptop not being plugged in like I am right now. Since the release of this original one, Blue Microphones have released their Pro version, which is 24-bit as well. So if you're looking for that, make sure you don't buy this particular version. I'll leave links to both in the description below. But 16-bit for most people is going to be fine. If you are a live streamer on YouTube, by the time you actually encode that and it goes to the server, you've actually lost the resolution anyway. So 16-bit will be fine for the majority of things. In terms of its capsules, we have 3 Blue proprietary 14mm condenser capsules. So there's 3 capsules inside this actual microphone head, which is pretty awesome. A lot of microphones out there don't have that flexibility. They don't have the polar patterns that we spoke of earlier either, and they don't have the actual real-time monitoring. So overall, that's a really cool thing that sets it apart from a lot of other USB microphones. In terms of the overall frequency response, we get the human hearing range, which is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. But I have to mention something. I've been using this microphone long enough and I have a plethora of other microphones, maybe 20 or 30 of them, including high-end Rode microphones. And every time I hear this compared to, say, a Rode NT1, for example, which isn't a USB microphone, by the way, I hear that this almost sounds like it has a de-esser built in. And that's not a bad thing for people who don't know what that is. So if you don't know what a de-esser is, you're not going to care either way. But what I've noticed with this particular microphone is it automatically trims the S words that can sometimes sound a little sizzly, for example. That's a good word to sort of hear what it's doing. It kind of removes that sibilance is what it's called, and it makes it sound more pleasing to the listener. But it feels like it's EQ'd in that particular way and you can't get rid of that. So some people's voices, it might kind of do some funny things. But overall, if you don't know what that is and you've never had one of these before or any USB microphone, it's probably a huge upgrade over whatever it is you're using, and thanks to its flexibility of all the different polar patterns. In terms of its maximum sound pressure level, it can take up to 120 decibels, which is essentially a loud electric guitar amplifier. Now, to be honest, I've used this on electric guitar amps before and I wasn't impressed. It sounded weird. It sounded too dark, it sounded too scooped, and I think it's more suited to acoustic things, whether it's your voice, acoustic guitar. This does lose a little bit of zing on acoustic guitar as well, but just for what it is, you're getting a microphone you can plug into any computer and it does the job. But don't expect this to be as good as, say, a high-end Rode microphone or a high-end Audio-Technica microphone or any of those mics. It's great for what it is. It's a plug-and-play microphone, but it definitely, in my opinion, won't replace someone who does, say, broadcast quality vocal, voiceover work or anything like that. This is good for YouTube streaming and it's good for basic stuff, but if you want to go to get the pro sound, you really have to spend the pro money. So in terms of the physical weight of the actual microphone, it comes in at 2.2 pounds or 1 kilogram the way that it is. Now, straight off the shelf, or out of the box I should say, it comes with this bottom half already attached, and you can kind of fold it up inside itself as well. You're still listening to it right now, so I'm not going to do that on camera, but you can actually fold the microphone over, and that's a really cool thing if you want to take it with you and travel. Only downside is 1 kilogram. It doesn't sound heavy, or 2.2 pounds. It's not that heavy technically, but if you're going overseas, I would almost find this to be too big. I would probably opt to take a smaller, lighter microphone that might not have the flexibility, but it would be much, much lighter. I actually did a review of another one you might like. I'll leave a link up in the cards over here, and you can check that out. The last spec I'm going to mention right now is the power output from the headphone jack underneath. Comes in at 130 milliwatts. Now, the great thing about this, I've used so many different types of headphones with this Blue Yeti mic, and it's always plenty loud. We have the volume control on the front. We can crank it up and turn it down. I've never had to run it anywhere near maximum volume, so the output from the actual, or to the actual headphones, is more than ample. Thanks for watching, folks. My name's Shane. I'm back to my Rode Shirt microphone right now, in case you've heard a difference in the audio. So overall, what are my thoughts about this microphone? I love its plug and play simplicity. It's the #1 selling USB condenser microphone in the world for a reason. It sounds fantastic. I prefer this much more than the Snowball, which is also another really great microphone as well. But I've used them both. This is by far the best choice if you want to just do voice over work, and I've just pushed it back the wrong way. I was going to show you how it folds up as well. So if you are taking this traveling, you can actually just fold it back inside itself like this, and you are good to go. Now, my criticisms of it, I've already mentioned. The fact that it's so low to the table. I wish it was just a little bit taller, but I'll leave links to the microphone and some alternatives that you can use to actually get this microphone up higher. I've got a few spring arms you've seen on the channel as well, so I'll leave those links down there as well. Overall, in terms of the build quality, this thing feels like $1 million. They really nailed it, and it stood the test of time. I've had this for over 5 years easily. It might even be longer than that, but I sometimes overestimate how long I've had something, but it has to be at least 5 years. So it's done really, really well. You get a nice long USB cable. This isn't the original one. I'm actually using that for something else right now, but yeah, you get a nice long USB cable so your computer can be out of shot, for example, and you can hit record, just talk into it, not have the computer on the desk. I use the computer on the desk because I'm using the short cable and I needed to know the specifications. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, click the bell, all that stuff. I have videos coming up every weekend for as long as I can do it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're into podcasting, audio setups, all that, you've come to the right place. Or if you're into camera gear, I'm also going to be putting together even more videos of that stuff coming up really, really soon, as well as some help tutorial videos. If you have any questions about how to use this, what it will work with, or what do I think is the best microphone for around the same price that isn't USB, let me know in the comments also. Thanks again, catch you soon. See ya.